The scar still aches when it rains. 4 inches of puckered skin along my left side, a permanent reminder of the day I thought I was saving my sister's life. Instead, I had handed her a $200,000 payday and nearly destroyed my own future in the process. My name is Cameron, and I need to tell you about the biggest mistake I ever made, trusting my sister Bridget. It started with a phone call at 2:17 a.m. on a Tuesday in March. I know the exact time because I was staring at my alarm clock, wondering who could be calling at that hour. My first thought was that something had happened to our parents. Cameron? Bridget's voice was weak, shaky. I'm at St. Mary's Hospital. Can you come, please? I threw on clothes and drove the 20 minutes to the hospital in a panic. Bridget was only 26, 2 years younger than me, and despite our rocky relationship, she was still my little sister. We'd grown up in the same small house, shared the same struggles when our dad lost his job, weathered the same storms when our parents divorced. I found her in the emergency room, pale and exhausted, hooked up to an IV drip. The doctor, a tired-looking woman in her 50s, pulled me aside after examining Bridget. Your sister is in kidney failure, she said bluntly. Both kidneys are functioning at less than 10%. We're not sure what caused it. Could be genetic. Could be from some medication she was taking. Right now, she needs immediate dialysis and will need to be on the transplant list. The words hit me like a physical blow. Kidney failure. At 26. How long does she have? I asked. With dialysis, she could live for years while waiting for a donor kidney, but finding a match can take a long time. Sometimes people wait 5, 6 years. Some never find a match at all. I spent the next 3 days at the hospital while Bridget started dialysis. She was scared, really scared, in a way I'd never seen before. Bridget had always been the wild one, the risk taker, the sister who partied too hard and dated the wrong guys. But lying in that hospital bed, she looked like the little girl who used to crawl into my bed during thunderstorms. I don't want to die, Cameron, she whispered one evening as the dialysis machine hummed beside her bed. I know I've made mistakes. I know I haven't been the best sister, but I don't want to die. You're not going to die, I said, taking her hand. We'll figure this out. That's when I made the decision that would change everything. I went to the doctor the next morning and asked about being tested as a kidney donor. The process was extensive. Blood tests, psychological evaluations, medical history reviews. But after 2 weeks of testing, the results came back. I was a perfect match. It's unusual to find such a close match between siblings, the transplant coordinator explained. This is really the best possible scenario for your sister. The surgery was scheduled for May 15th. I took leave from my job as a software engineer, arranged for my girlfriend Sarah to take care of me during recovery, and prepare for what I thought would be the most meaningful thing I'd ever do. Bridget was over the moon when she heard the news. She cried, hugged me, promised she'd never take this gift for granted. Our parents, who had remained distant since their bitter divorce, actually came together to support us both. For the first time in years, our family felt united. I'll never be able to repay you for this, Bridget told me the night before surgery. You're literally giving me my life back. The surgery itself went perfectly. 4 hours later, I woke up in recovery with one kidney and the worst pain I'd ever experienced. But seeing Bridget in the bed next to me, already looking better with her new kidney functioning beautifully, made every bit of pain worth it. Recovery was brutal. I was out of work for 8 weeks, during which time I had no income since my company's short-term disability didn't cover voluntary organ donation. Sarah had to cover our rent and expenses. I watched my savings account dwindle while dealing with complications from the surgery, an infection at the incision site that required additional antibiotics, and chronic fatigue that lasted for months. But Bridget was thriving. Her color returned, her energy came back, and within 6 weeks she was back to her old self. She got a job at a marketing firm, started dating again, and seemed to have completely bounced back from her health scare. I was happy for her truly, even when my own recovery dragged on longer than expected. Even when I had to take a lower-paying job because my energy levels weren't quite the same, I told myself it was worth it. I had saved my sister's life. The first sign something was wrong came 4 months after the surgery. Bridget showed up at my apartment driving a brand new BMW. Not a used BMW, not a lease. A $65,000 brand new BMW with temporary plates and that new car smell. Nice car, I said, running my hand along the sleek silver paint. Did you win the lottery? She laughed, but it sounded forced. Just got a really good deal on the financing. You know how it is. But I didn't know how it was. Bridget worked in entry-level marketing. Even with good credit, there was no way she could afford the payments on a car like this. When I asked her about it, she got defensive. Can't you just be happy for me? She snapped. I almost died, Cameron. I deserve to enjoy life a little. I let it go, but the car bothered me. Over the next few weeks, I noticed other changes. Bridget moved out of her studio apartment into a luxury one-bedroom downtown. She started wearing expensive clothes, eating at high-end restaurants, taking weekend trips to Vegas and Miami. When I asked where the money was coming from, she always had an explanation. A bonus at work. A small inheritance from a great aunt I'd never heard of. Money she'd been saving for years. The explanations got more elaborate and less believable. But Bridget was an adult, and it wasn't my place to monitor her finances. I had my own problems. Lingering health issues from the surgery, a relationship with Sarah that was strained from the stress and financial pressure of my recovery. The truth came out 6 months later in the most horrible way possible. I was at my parents' house for Sunday dinner, something we'd started doing regularly since the transplant had brought us closer together. Bridget was late, as usual, and when she finally arrived, she was agitated. Everything okay? My mom asked. Fine, Bridget said, but she kept checking her phone and seemed nervous. That's when the doorbell rang. My dad answered it to find 2 men in dark suits holding badges. FBI agents. We're looking for Bridget Morrison, the older agent said. We need to speak with her about some financial transactions. The blood drained from Bridget's face. She looked like she was going to be sick. What's this about? My father demanded. Ma'am, the agent said to Bridget, we need you to come with us for questioning regarding your involvement in an illegal organ trafficking operation. The words hit me like a sledgehammer. Organ trafficking. The room started spinning. There's been a mistake, Bridget said, her voice barely a whisper. I don't know what you're talking about. Ms. Morrison, we have records showing that you received $200,000 in cash payments from Dr. Marcus Reeves, who has been running an illegal organ harvesting and sales operation. We also have documentation showing that you falsified medical records to make it appear that you needed a kidney transplant when you were never actually in kidney failure. I couldn't breathe. The room was spinning faster now. Cameron, my mother said, reaching for me as I staggered backward. Cameron, sit down. But I couldn't sit down. I couldn't process what I was hearing. You faked it, I whispered, staring at Bridget. You faked the kidney failure? Bridget's face crumpled. Cameron, I can explain. You fakey did. I shouted, my voice cracking. I gave you my kidney and you weren't even sick. The FBI agents were still talking, explaining how Dr. Reeves had been purchasing healthy organs from donors who thought they were helping sick relatives, then selling those organs to wealthy patients willing to pay premium prices for immediate transplants. But I couldn't focus on their words. All I could see was Bridget's face, guilty and terrified and completely without remorse. The money, I said slowly. The car, the apartment, the trips. You sold my kidney. It's not like that, Bridget said desperately. Cameron, you have to understand. I was in debt. Really bad debt. These people were going to hurt me if I didn't pay them back. I saw an opportunity and I took it. I never meant for you to get hurt. You let me think you were dying. I knew you'd want to help me. I knew you'd do anything for family. Those words, anything for family, hit me like a punch to the gut. I had done anything for family. I'd sacrificed my health, my savings, my career, all to save someone who was never actually in danger. Cameron, my father said, his voice hollow. Son, I think you need to sit down. But I was already walking toward the door. I couldn't stay in the same room as Bridget for another second. Cameron, wait. She called after me. Please, let me explain. I turned back to face her. Explain what? That you manipulated me into surgery, that you let me believe you were dying just so you could make a profit. It wasn't supposed to hurt you, she cried. You're fine, you're healthy. You don't even need both kidneys. That's when I lost it. I'm not fine, I said, my voice shaking. I lost my job because I couldn't keep up. My girlfriend left because I was mentally and physically wrecked for months. I'm buried in medical debt. I still wake up in pain most days. And you use that to your advantage to buy a car. At that moment, two agents stepped between us. One of them put a hand on my arm. "Sir," he said gently, "we understand this is hard. We'll need your statement. You're a victim in this investigation." A victim. Not a hero who saved his sister's life, but someone tricked by someone he loved. I spent the next 4 hours at the agency office giving my statement and learning what had really happened. Bridget had faked her illness with the help of others in a scheme that targeted generous family members. The purpose was financial, exploiting relatives who'd give anything to save someone they loved. She'd met the people running the scheme through a former boyfriend. When she found herself in serious debt, gambling debts hidden from all of us, he introduced her to people who promised her a quick solution. Their plan was disturbing in its simplicity. She would pretend to be ill, get on a transplant list, and miraculously discover I was a match. Once I agreed to donate, the operation would go through. Afterward, her story would end there. Mine wouldn't. The medication she took temporarily affected her test results, one of the agents explained. But her health was never in real danger. So she wasn't sick. No, her kidneys were functioning normally the entire time. I sat in that sterile room thinking about all the nights I sat by her hospital bed, the reassurances I gave, the fear I felt. It had all been a performance, every tear, every word, meant to get me to give something I could never take back. The case moved forward quickly. Several people involved were convicted and sentenced. Bridget was offered a reduced sentence in exchange for her cooperation. She took the deal. I didn't speak to her again after that. I couldn't. The memory of lying in that recovery room, watching her heal while I could barely move, haunted me. The worst part wasn't even the physical damage or the debt. It was the betrayal. The realization that the person I trusted most saw my loyalty as a tool to be used. Sarah and I broke up a few months later. She said she couldn't take the ongoing legal mess or the media attention. Local reporters had picked up the story, and around town, I became known as the guy who got tricked. I left. I moved to another city, found a new job, and tried to rebuild. The civil case dragged on for 2 years, but I eventually received compensation from the seized assets. It covered my bills and helped me start over, but it didn't restore what I'd lost. Bridget sent me a letter from prison last year. I almost didn't open it, but curiosity won out. It read, "Cameron, I know you probably hate me. I understand. I think about what I did every single day. I was scared, and I made a terrible choice. I destroyed everything good between us for things that didn't matter. I know I can't fix it, but losing you has been harder than anything else. You were the best brother I could have asked for, and I threw that away. I don't expect forgiveness. I just needed you to know that I regret it deeply. I read it 3 times and then put it in a drawer. I haven't written back. I don't plan to. Some betrayals are too deep to come back from. Some wounds don't heal just because someone says sorry. I'm doing better now. I've started dating again. My health is slowly improving. The scar remains, a daily reminder of what I gave and what was taken. But I've learned something too. Family isn't just who you're related to. It's the people who stand by you without hidden motives. The ones who see your kindness as strength, not opportunity. Bridget gets out next year. I won't be there to greet her. She may have taken my kidney, but what she really stole was my trust. And that costs far more than any car or dollar amount. And unlike money, I'll never get it back.